Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. NFL Week 3 is here. We're talking last-minute news and notes here, getting you ready for your Week 3 lineups. Guys, I'm beyond excited. Football is here, and I'd like to rip off an episode here at 9 a.m. for you guys. Get this episode out to you so that you guys are fully prepared for the week. Now, listen, Week 3, there's so much uncertainty coming in from Week 2 with so many injuries. So we kind of know who's injured because we have answers. Like CMC's not going to be playing. Saquon Barkley is not going to be playing. So we kind of know what's going on. So you should have made adjustments going into this week. And that's why you guys make sure you guys subscribe right now. Before we start this, subscribe, smash a thumbs up, and leave your fantasy questions below. I'll try to get to as many starts and sits as I possibly can. But again, we talked about waiver wire. We did starts and sits. We got you prepared during the week. But here I am last minute trying to help you yet again because I want you to get that last minute information so you guys have the right starts and sits. Guys, it's very important that you start and sit the right person. That can make or break your week. I'm a prime example of that. Even last week, I ended up sitting Gesicki last week in Week 2, and I started Hawkinson. Gesicki did better. I ended up sitting Matt Ryan, started Aaron Rodgers, made a mistake in one league. Try not to make a mistake, guys. If your player has been consistently producing, start him. Sometimes you feel like, oh, well, what a great matchup. I feel like starting that guy. Yeah, I know, but look at Minshew on Thursday, right? He had arguably one of the best matchups for his position, and he kind of crapped the bed. He had a mediocre game. So sometimes it's any given Sunday, it's any player, it's any time, any day. Now, you got to take a look at some starts and sits this week. Guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, David Johnson. Both these guys have really tough matchups. Literally, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire has the toughest matchup for his position, and you got to look at David Johnson, who's playing the Steelers. So these guys both have tough matchups. Baltimore, right? Very tough matchup for Helaire. Very tough matchup for David Johnson with the Steelers. So, but you got to, if that's the only option, you got to start them, right? If you don't have a better running back to start, okay? So again, go back, check the starts and sits episode. But let's go to the last minute news and notes. By the way, I was up really late. I was watching the Costa Adesanya fight. If you guys didn't watch that, that was phenomenal. And this goes with fantasy football and whatever you're doing in your career. Costa came in really, really arrogant, really cocky. Came in, he had his hands behind his back during the matchup and sticking his tongue out, like, yeah, hit me. And like Adesanya was focused. It was like precision. It was amazing. The guy was striking with absolute precision and accuracy. And it was an amazing thing to watch. It was a clinic. It was surgical what Adesanya did. If you guys aren't into MMA, this was very interesting still if you're into sports. Israel Adesanya destroyed Costa, absolutely destroyed him in that main event yesterday in UFC. Very interesting to watch. I watched it, really enjoyed this fight. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is don't ever let your guard down in fantasy football. Always stay sharp on the wire. Don't relent. Always keep going and pressing through. And that's what Israel Adesanya did to Costa. And Costa thought he could just, be cocky and arrogant. But don't always stay humble and always stay focused, okay? All right, so let's keep going here. With the latest news. So let's start off the latest news and notes. Kenny Golladay, listen, he is supposed to make his debut finally. He had a hamstring. He was banged up, but Kenny Golladay should be going this week. Do you start him? Again, it's very suspect because you got to understand, guys, some of these guys coming in, they might be nursing. They could be decoys. We saw with Julio Jones last week. He was banged up. He still played, only put up 4 points. Hopefully Golladay gets going. If you don't have a better option, why not? Start Kenny Golladay this week. He's set to go. They're playing him for a reason. He did have 2 weeks to rest. Should be enough time. Hopefully he doesn't aggravate that injury, okay? Duke Johnson ankle is considered unlikely to play, so David Johnson is going to get that workload, which is really, really good. Kenny Stills had a bit of an illness, but is expected to play. A lot of people ask about Jerry Jeudy. He is expected to play in Week 3 versus the Buccaneers. According to a source, Jerry Jeudy, Broncos, really banged up from Drew Lock to Courtland Sutton. Everybody banged up on that team. So when you are looking at the Broncos, be suspect because it's going to be a backup quarterback. I believe it's Driscoll. I don't even care because I'm not starting anybody from there. But yeah, man, really suspect with that offense completely. Now, Noah Fant could have some value in DFS, but again, very suspect, okay? Darren Waller, a lot of people asking with him. He had a knee issue, but he is expected to get a lot of work and is expected to play this week against the Patriots. Must play for Waller if they want to win against the Patriots. He is the number one target for Derek Carr. He's got to play. Also, Jacobs is a little banged up with the hip. This guy's as tough as they come. He is expected to play against the Patriots as well this week. So Josh Jacobs, fire him up in your roster. That's really reassuring for me as a Josh Jacobs owner that you got to start him, okay? Let's go over some other things. Everything else, guys, I mean, you got to use some common sense also. if you're in the app, make sure you're checking to see if you're whatever app you're using, it should tell you whether they're good to go. Check the last minute news and notes before the game. Just literally, like, sometimes you just got to Google that player's name and say, hey, is that person playing? Because I know Julio Jones was suspect to play as well. There was some questions, but I think he should be playing. So that's a big question. Do you start Julio? You know, I'm a little suspect if he plays or if he doesn't play, if you should play him or not. Again, I think it's a game time decision similar to Devontae Adams, another guy that's going to be a game time decision from what I'm reading here. So do you start these guys? I mean, they're a little banged up, so that's something you need to be cautious about. This happened to me last year with David Johnson saying he was good to go in one game. Then he sat out. He came up for one snap and sat out. So Julio Jones and Devontae Adams, to me, are a little bit of a concern as well. These top wide receiver ones getting banged up. So you could look at some value plays like Russell Gage if you are looking at Julio Jones. Could get some volume, or maybe even Calvin Ridley, okay? Jimmy Garoppolo here as well. Ankle did not participate. He will be ruled out for week 3. Jimmy Garoppolo banged up. He was one of the victims in week 2 that came down with injuries. So something to be cautious about as well. And listen, guys, you know what to do this week. And that's pretty much it. I mean, those are the main guys you want to be concerned about that I heard of that were kind of suspect whether they're going to play or not. And again, last week kind of flushed out our expectations of who's playing, who's not playing. Also, take under consideration if people like Nick Bosa is going to be injured, right? So that defense is a little crippled. So if you are starting a player opposing that defense, whether it be in reality, like your year-long or DFS, that's something you got to look at as well and say, hey, man, like, okay, well, that defense is banged up. They lost that key player. You know, maybe I have a shot here. So there you go. Then you have a better chance of winning because that defensive player is gone. Also, I forgot to mention this, man, Vegas Raiders are banged up completely. Henry Ruggs is ruled out for week 3 as well. Drew Lock we talked about, but Sammy Watkins was limited during practice. Be cautious with him if you are starting him, but he's very volatile as well. Oh, I got a couple more here that came up. Philip Lindsay was limited in practice, but is listed as doubtful for week 3. Frank Gore had a non-injury, didn't practice, but he should be good to go. But I don't trust Frank Gore. I don't trust anybody from the Jets. Oh, I almost forgot about this one too. Cam Akers has been ruled out against week 3 with the ribs. So fire up probably Darrell Henderson there. And you guys know about the other guys. Michael Thomas has been ruled out for week 3. You kind of know about that. Oh, another guy, Chris Godwin. Okay, he apparently had that concussion. He fully practiced and is not on the injury report, so he should be playing. So if you are thinking that, you know, I would say Mike Evans is going to have another big week, Godwin's going to be there as well. Geno Smith, the ankle is bothering him. He's not on the injury report. A.J. Brown has been ruled out again for week 3. I thought I was done, but then I looked at my other page of notes. I got more things going here. So yeah, A.J. Brown is going to be out as well. So key injuries, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones listed as questionable. Michael Thomas out. Godwin is going to probably play. Again, you got to watch these last minute up to the minute, because if you put them in your lineup and they're saying, yeah, we're questionable, or, you know, then they come in for play and they come for one snap, you're going to be really, really pissed. So if you do have better option, queue up those better options. I'm telling you guys, because again, sometimes it makes or breaks your week. Now, for example, Cole Beasley, his thumb and hip are bothering him. He did fully practice and is not on the injury report, but let's just say his thumb acts up. Oh, wow, my thumb's starting to hurt. Put me out, coach, right? You never really know. Now, I'm not starting Cole Beasley. I'm usually starting wide receiver ones, but that's part of it, right? All right, so that's pretty much it here, guys. Listen, week 3. Okay, this is a very important week, whether you're talking fantasy or reality, because now, if you're 1-1, you don't want a losing record, okay? If you're 2-0, you still don't want a losing record. Not a losing record, you don't want to lose at all. You want to be 3-0, right? If you're 0-2, you got to win. I don't know what to tell you guys. This is a very, very pivotal, crucial week. And again, this applies also for reality as well, because a lot of teams have to win, right? Falcons, they're on thin ice. They got to win, right? So you got to take a look at your team. You got to say, okay, I got to go back. How much volume did that guy get? Okay, well, he got that much volume. That means he possibly is going to get volume again this week. You got to take a look at guys that are going to eat. You got to get those volume getters. You can't take any risk. You also got to look at matchups. I did a show on this on the Saturday DFS show. I also talked about it in the starts and sits. That's why you got to subscribe, leave the thumbs up, because we talk about guys like Joshua Kelly and Eckler who have phenomenal matchups, okay? We talk about other guys that have phenomenal matchups as well, right? At the quarterback position, at the running back position, at the wide receiver position. I talk about this through the week. So go back, check that episode because, again, it's such an important week 3. You definitely don't want to go 0-3 in your leagues. You have to win. And if you have to win, you got to make the right decision, okay? And sometimes you do your best, you start your best player, and they don't do well. It happens. But that's fantasy football, and there's been a lot of injury, a lot of uncertainty, and that's typical for fantasy football, especially this year, man. There's so many injuries. I'm hoping everybody makes it out of this week 3 safe, and your players make it through, because I'm telling you, we thought that the pandemic was a big thing. It looks like, honestly, it looks like other things are the big thing, like just standard injuries. Who would have expected that? So you should have been prepared at the beginning of the season anyway, okay? So week 3 is upon us. Go out there, dominate, guys. Fantasy football week 3 is here. Go out there, crush your leagues, guys. And this has been your latest news, notes, and injuries. Go out there, dominate, guys. And follow on Instagram, because I'm there on Instagram at Fantasy Football Counselor. Follow. I'm doing story modes throughout the games. Make sure you guys are interacting, and we will talk soon. I'm out.